the hardest step, actually taking initiative, taking action, doing something day one. Once you can build a mental courage to bypass any fears or doubts you may have, that's when a whole world of endless possibilities come up. All it takes is a simple phone call to an innocent, helpful guy like you to really change their aspect and change their mindset into what can be done. Because the sky's the limit, especially when it comes to real estate. Real estate investing, there's so many ways to acquire. You can get creative. You can do traditional, conventional. It pretty much like the average Joe can get into it. You know, you don't need to be some genius. You don't need to have a lot of money. You just need to have dedication, hard work, be persistent. You know, go out there, make the right call. Don't get stuck on analysis paralysis, and just stick your feet in the water, I guess. And that's all I can give for advice.
Hey guys, Rhett here. What's going on? I am super excited to bring to you my client, Danny. Danny has been with me now for a couple of months. He already has his first Section 8 rental property up and running, already have a tenant in it. He is a young guy who's going to have a huge portfolio here in the next couple of years. Danny, thanks so much for coming on the channel.
No problem, Red. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. And guys, one of the reasons I wanted to bring Danny on the channel is because I think a lot of you out there can put yourself in Danny's shoes. And I know there are so many people out there who want to start real estate portfolios. They don't know where to begin. They have no experience in real estate and they don't know where to start. You go online, Danny, and there's like so much information. You don't know what's real. You don't know what's fake. You don't know who to work with. It's this whole, it's so easy to be overtaken by analysis paralysis, because the information is just, you know, you're drinking from a fire hose and you don't know which way to go. What led you to get started in Section 8, and what do you think put you on this path?
So in regards to Section 8, I always had an interest in real estate. I always wanted to get into it, but I just never knew exactly what I wanted to do. I looked at the pros and cons with flipping versus holding and renting. And, you know, I did a bit of research before I wanted to jump into anything. And as I was scrolling through Instagram, I found a post about Section 8, something about guaranteed payments from the government. And it intrigued me because one of the worst things when you own rental property is God forbid a tenant doesn't pay you or something. And to me, that was the biggest risk. So when I see something that along the lines of guaranteed payments, right away that entices me. And so I wanted to do a bit more research on YouTube. And after countless of videos, I ended up on your channel. And just looking through the videos, I kind of understood more about the program, because you made a lot of your older videos, you made educational like videos, like short clips, but you were really deep diving into the program. You were explaining the ins and outs, the advantages. So what I did was I just eventually decided to reach out to you, learn a bit more about the business, and then from there it was just good investing.
Yeah, and Danny, when you're a young guy and you want to get started in real estate and you haven't done anything before, what were some of the biggest concerns that you had before we had gotten started?
So my biggest concern was, since I'm out of state, I just didn't know how I would actually manage the projects, because I wasn't there. So for me, the biggest and most important thing was actually having boots on the ground, some team that I can always message or call if I need anything done, if I need anything checked up on, also for me to receive updates. And once I know that I have somebody to rely with in the local area where I'm investing, things just become so much more easier, because I can have, talks throughout the day about what needs to be done, what's going on in the future. And that's what made me confident.
Yeah. And Danny, so you and I, when we first started talking, you wanted to buy a house that you could add value to. And exactly what we did. I mean, we did a lot of work to the house that you bought. You bought it for $65,000. After all was said and done, we ended up putting in about $48,000 into that house with a full rehab, HVAC, roof, new kitchen, new bathrooms, new floors, new walls, new ceilings. I mean, you name it, we did it to that house. Found somebody super fast to get in there. You're getting $1,200 a month guaranteed by the government. Was the process exactly like you envisioned it? Was it harder? Was it easier? What was like the reality versus what you had thought about in your mind?
So the process is exactly what I expected it to be, just because of all the abundant amount of research and YouTube videos I watched throughout, Bigger Pockets forums and everything. I kind of understood the process in terms of once something goes under contract all the way to closing. Like I kind of knew a bit about what happened, and when it was happening with me, it was just firsthand experience. So then, once I was learning it, I kind of saw how the systems work. So speaking with lenders, speaking with agents, title companies. And then once I got to close on it, that's when construction starts. So if I already kind of came into it knowing what was going to happen, but the fact that I was able to experience it firsthand kind of like made me confident into future projects, because I kind of understand that if the first deal is going to be like this, all the deals are going to be like this, because there's no different from buying one house, to your fifth 100 house. It's like the same process overall. So yeah,
And Danny, how old are you?
I'm only 22.
You're 22.
Yeah.
How many of your 22-year-old friends have rental properties?
Actually only one, and he's also a client of yours, Dennis. So I wanted to help my friends out because I knew this was, a great thing to get into. So told my friend about it, and now he's also a client.
Unbelievable. And you guys are both super young guys. You're both absolutely killing it. And one of the reasons why when you brought Dennis to me, I was like, absolutely, I'll take him on, no question, was because of how you acted throughout the whole process here. And what I mean by that is, A, you trusted me and you trusted the team, and you had a vision and you trusted us to get you to that vision. And that's hard to do, right? How many times have you been to this house? How many times have you walked through it? How many times did you check in on the rehab? How many times did you meet your team?
Well, other than the pictures, zero, because I've never actually been to Birmingham, but yeah, just zero times.
I mean, has anybody said, are you crazy? You just spent $100,000 on a rental property in cash that you've never seen?
Actually, yeah, but it's more of the older people that told me I'm crazy, just because, I'm not physically there. But I feel like they don't really understand how revolutionary technology is, and how, there are reputable people out there that you can trust. And I mean, yeah, I would have been crazy if I didn't know the person, but just again, after seeing your YouTube content, seeing how genuine you came across, I just thought, what better guy than somebody like Brett?
Well, I appreciate that, brother. And guys, for those of you who are watching, it doesn't matter if you're 22, it doesn't matter if you're 65 or 80. The best time to do this is now. And Danny, you can't get your time back. So you starting this as such a young guy, it gives you so much time to build a huge portfolio. But more importantly, and the thing that I love about it, which I don't talk about very often, is a lot of young people are not great with their money, especially in a time like today where you go on TikTok, you go on Instagram, you go online, and you're just crushed with ads. Buy this, buy this. It's so easy to buy things on Amazon. It's so easy to hit a button on Instagram and purchase a pair of shoes for $450.
For sure.
That's right. That adds up. So if you are a young person or an older person, it doesn't matter. But if you have a place where you can put your money and you feel safe that it's there, you put it into a real estate asset that always is going to continue to go up. You put it in an asset that's going to pay you guaranteed rent every single month forever. What happens is when you build that proof of concept, now every time you have leftover money, instead of going down to the store and spending it on jewelry, or going down to the store and buying something that you don't need, you're putting it towards a goal that's going to set you up for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Danny, what does the rest of your life look like, do you think, from an investment standpoint? I know you and I have talked about it a little bit, but give me what your next 5 years looks like, and then give me a picture of what your investment portfolio looks like in 20 years.
So in the next 5 years, I plan to get to about realistically 40 to 50 properties, just because in my head I have a certain number per month I want to reach that I feel will satisfy all my debt obligations and whatever activities I want to do in my leisure time. And to get to that in 5 years, I know I'm gonna have to grind. I'm gonna have to be, super focused. But with a plan, I believe it's possible. And in 20 years, hopefully, if it's not 1,000 unit portfolio, then hopefully I'll get into something development, like building townhomes, like apartments, similar to what you also do. But yeah, other than that, that's kind of how I envision my future to be.
So far, we've done one house and we were able to knock it out pretty quickly. Do you think that Section 8 is going to have a large piece of your portfolio for the rest of your investment career?
For sure, for sure. Especially after studying some of the local laws here in Jersey and New York, seeing how they're not really so landlord friendly and how long the eviction process can take with the backed up courts, especially here in Jersey. That kind of scares me away from the whole, private market tenant. And the reason why I favor Section 8 is because as long as you can screen the tenant, thoroughly, I think it's pretty much the safest investment you can make. Because if you're working with the government, they receive funding from the feds. That money just comes to your business, like your bank account, the first of every month, and you don't have to deal with, you know, the tenants. Your property management handles everything, and it's just a peace of mind knowing on the first of every month you're going to get guaranteed payment from the government.
Yeah. And when you're getting guaranteed money, and I talk about this to people all the time, Danny, and this is something that you understood immediately, which a lot of other people, it takes them a little bit longer to understand. But a lot of people get into real estate because they want to buy a house for $100,000. They want to rent it out and break even, or pay $100 a month and have the tenant pay their mortgage. And then 20 years from now, they want to sell it for 200,000 and make 100 grand. But you understood very, very quickly that that doesn't make a lot of sense, because we don't know what 20 years in the future is going to look like. Yeah, we hope the property appreciates, but so did people who bought houses in the year 1998 and wanted to sell their homes from 2008 to 2011. Guess what? Those houses didn't go up very much, and that was a 10 to 13-year period. So we can't always predict what the next 10 or 20 years looks like from an appreciation standpoint. But what we can pencil out over the next 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, 10 years, 20 years is what our cash flow looks like. And we know that if in year one, we can make 12% on our money, and then we can, with Section 8, file for a rental increase and bring that money up to give us a 15% return in year number two, and then an 18% return in year number three. And then we can average over a 20% return over a 10 to 20-year period. We're golden. We'll make our money back inside of 7 years. And then the appreciation on the property is just the cherry on top. So you harness that immediately. Now, I know we bought this unit in cash. What is your philosophy going to look like for your next couple units? Do you think you're going to start using financing? Is your plan to BRRRR this unit, to buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat? What is your plan for the next couple of units that we're going to do?
For sure. So the reason I bought my first unit in cash was just because I had the reserves to do so. And I didn't want to deal with any of the lender fees. I just wanted to, make a clean cash purchase. But from now knowing how it is with cash, I plan to use financing just because I want to leverage the bank's money, and I want to have a greater cash on cash return. And I feel like I can go into more projects with less money required. And it would allow me to work on that, on hopefully multiple at the same time. So, and it's especially with the acquisition prices on these homes in the market, it's you could get a home close to rent ready for about 70, 80,000, and if bank only requires 20% of that, that's only like 16,000 plus closing costs. You're at 20,000 all in for a home. And when you get 1,200 a month, your cash on cash returns are pretty high, over 30, 40%. So that's what I plan to utilize in the near future. And once I run out of money for down payments, then I'm going to bring in other partners, investors, hopefully, try to scale up more from there. Using other people's money is how a lot of, people with big portfolios got to where they are. So that's what I plan on doing soon.
Yeah, and they're going to give you that money, Danny, because you're going to have a track record.
Right.
And when you have a track record, you can do things like that. When someone goes, okay, well, Danny, you want 100 grand. What have you done? And you go, well, I've done all this, and I bought them in cash, and I've done big rehabs, and I've bought them turnkey, and I've done small rehabs. And here's my portfolio. It's grossing 10,000 a month. And that's why you should give me 100 grand, because here I average an 18% cash on cash return over the first 5 years of my property. You start talking like this, people are going to say, where do I
Right.
sign? Right.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing. You're starting slow. You're building those proof of concepts with your rental properties. You have the plan for the next couple. You're not saying to me, well, I'm going to build, we're doing 20 properties in 2024. No, we're going to take our time. We're going to do it right. And then when you're out of the capital yourself, you can go raise it, and you've done it slow and steady enough to where people are going to trust you. You're not buying things out of control, like a chicken with your head cut off, throwing money all over the place and just trying to accumulate as many rental properties as you can. You're doing them thoughtfully. You're crossing the T's, you're dotting the I's, and you're doing them the right way. Now, you brought something up there that I think is very interesting that I want to talk about, and that is, you live in Jersey, you live in the Northeast. The prices are absurd up in the Northeast. Property taxes, insurance, purchase price, you name it. Bad landlord tenant laws, bad eviction laws. Eviction courts are way, way behind, just like they were in COVID, and then throughout 2021 and the first half of 2022. Evictions are starting to go up with cash tenants. So now the courts are backed up again. What has it been like for you buying property for a fraction of the cost of what every piece of real estate sells for up in New Jersey?
Well, it definitely feels a lot better because it's something that's much more feasible, a greater point of entry for somebody starting out like me. And because of how low it actually is, I feel like that'll be able in the long run when I need to raise capital, just because, people won't need as much and I won't need as much, a lot more from investors, depending on how much I want to get. But yeah, because of the low price points, I feel like it's very easy to get into, especially if you're starting out, and then you could just always build slowly from there. Even if you make a large mistake, it's not going to break the bank. It's not going to ruin your life like how some of the other investments here, in my local market can be, because the houses here are almost like 10 times as much as where we're investing. So that's a pretty huge difference.
I mean, that is absolutely crazy. And one thing too, when you're investing with lower capital and you're putting less money in, Danny, it's naturally less risk. We're not buying property for $600,000. Entry level property in Jersey. Can you get something for under $500,000?
Nope, unless it's going to be a shack or really beat up.
Right, exactly. So you talk about spending 60,000 or 65,000 like your first purchase versus 650,000. Just immediately, you as a young guy, you don't need 500,000 in debt. You don't. You're never going to be able to catch up to that, even in cash flow, because right now you buy a house in Jersey for 650K, you're putting down 20% because it's investment property, right? So right off the top, you're putting down 140, 150,000. And then you're financing 500 grand, which is going to cost you 4,000 a month, 4,500 a month. You can't rent it for that much. So
Right.
you're breaking even, if at best breaking even, but more realistically, you're cash flow negative. You're spending money every month. That's not what we should be doing here. We should be making money. And to mitigate the risk, you left that Jersey market. You got into a much, much more attractive market. And now you're in an area where you have a team, you're ready to grow, you have the people you need by your side to get you to where you want to go. And it's going to be a lot easier for you to save the capital to get there.
For sure. For sure. And I'm looking forward to it.
So Danny, you've been extremely gracious with your time. I'm going to let you go. But before I let you go, if you could talk to the people who are watching this video right now, who are thinking about getting started, but they just can't seem to pull the trigger, what would you tell them?
For sure. So a lot of people get stuck in the phase analysis paralysis to where they constantly overlook a deal and then hesitating and debating whether they should go in or not. But I think that's the hardest step, actually taking initiative, taking action, doing something day one. Once you can build a mental courage to bypass any fears or doubts you may have, that's when a whole world of endless possibilities come up. All it takes is a simple phone call to an innocent, helpful guy like you to really change their aspect and change their mindset into what can be done. Because the sky's the limit, especially when it comes to real estate. Real estate investing, there's so many ways to acquire. You can get creative. You can do traditional, conventional. It pretty much like the average Joe can get into it. You know, you don't need to be some genius. You don't need to have a lot of money. You just need to have dedication, hard work, be persistent, go out there, make the right call. Don't get stuck on analysis paralysis, and just stick your feet in the water, I guess. And that's all I can give for advice.
You're 100% right, Danny. And guys, if you want to be like Danny and you want to get this thing going, let's do it. Send me an email in the description below. We'll get started. Also, if you have any questions or comments for Danny, please, please, please drop them in the comment section below. He's always in there. He'll get to them. He'll answer your questions and help you guys get this thing rocking. Danny, thanks for coming on today, brother.
Appreciate you having me, Rhett.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.